of the next presentation so that we can move to our colleague from Australia, New Zealand and Pacific. I hope that is okay. So Dr. Tal Kestin, are you ready? Yes, and the only thing is that fantastic. So thank you, Tal, joining from our Australia, New Zealand and Pacific and presenting the Solution SDGs in Action initiative. Do you have your slides? Do you need the team to share your slides? You do. Let's see if Dorothea or Marin can put your slides up. Fantastic. Great. All right. So over to you, Tal.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. And it's really exciting to be here and present an initiative that we're doing in collaboration with our SDSN members in the Australia, New Zealand and Pacific region, where we're basically trying to learn from projects that our members are doing, and each one of them probably would be a great solution initiative to present here. But we're trying to look at them as a whole and look at how we can learn to use the SDGs in ways that will really advance and scale up action on Agenda 2030. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So why are we doing this project? Well, at SDSN Australia, New Zealand and Pacific, we've been engaging with the SDGs pretty much from the very start and very excited about the potential that they had to really drive action on sustainable development. And we've actually been involved pretty much since 2013 with initiatives to build capacity and to localise the SDGs, working with different sectors in our region. And it's been really gratifying to see how more and more organisations and state and local governments and others are really trying now to connect themselves with the SDGs and to identify and highlight how they're contributing to the SDGs. But what we haven't seen quite as much is these organisations going beyond business as usual in response to the SDGs. So we were hoping to see the SDGs motivating organisations to do more and to scale up their action, but that's happening a lot less. So next slide, please. But there are some examples where initiatives are using the SDGs framework, so the goals, the targets and the indicators, as a way to drive organisational and community change. And interestingly, we've noticed that quite a few of these examples are connected with universities and knowledge institutions who are our core members. So the SDGs in Action initiative was born to try and capture what these projects are doing, what they're learning, and use these findings to inspire others from other sectors to use the SDGs as a tool for action. And we also really wanted to capture the role of universities and knowledge institutions as a way to identify opportunities for the sector to help drive action on the SDGs. Next slide, please. So the project itself has three components. The first one is to collect case studies from our members on projects that they're doing with partners or within their own organisations that use the SDGs. The second part is to synthesise the learnings that have come out or are coming out of these projects and to put them together with the case studies in a report. And the third part, which is really very important, is to grow the community that is engaged in the SDGs through seminars and webinars and workshops where we bring the people who are actually doing these projects with a much broader audience to help learn and exchange information and build, in a sense, a community of practice. So we're actually in the middle of this project and we've done the case study collection and a little bit of the synthesis, and I'll tell you a little bit about these in a minute. We've also done a few seminars and webinars that are accessible on our website, but these have been a bit more disrupted by COVID. And yeah, so we're really quite in the early stages, so we're just presenting early learnings. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So in terms of the case studies we got, well, actually we had a goal of getting about 10 case studies, and we got over 20, which really delighted us. And as I said, each one of them is really fantastic and probably could be presented here just as well as all the other fantastic presentations we've had so far. And they're really interesting. They spanned projects from like really large multi-year projects like the local SDGs program and the SDGs City Challenge to once-off activities and events. And they engaged with a whole lot of different sectors, including local government, business, civil society, communities, and within universities themselves. And they also used a range of approaches and methodologies, from some really simple stakeholder engagement to highly complex integrated modelling. So next slide, please. So what's really emerging from these case studies? So here are some early learnings that we've observed. And the first one is that really the SDGs framework itself, again, the target, the indicators, and the goals themselves, have unique properties that really enables them to drive action in new and powerful ways. And some of these include being really amazing starting points for visioning and pathway identification, for helping identify gaps and opportunities through measurement, for helping people and organisation recognise their indirect impact and influence on goals that are not usually that obvious to them, and for connecting people across silos, across sectors, across countries, across departments in the same organisation. But there's also a range of challenges with using the SDGs, and they include things like low awareness or low interest in the broader society. So there's quite a bit of work to bring people up to speed on them. And also the way the SDGs framework itself is designed is very complex. There's so many goals, and it's not really designed for the needs of organisations like businesses or universities or subnational governments. And this kind of leads to the third learning that we've seen so far, and that is why universities and knowledge institutions are so important in helping drive these kinds of projects, because they can help overcome some of these challenges through their teaching, through their research, through their leadership, and other kinds of skills and unique abilities that they have. So next slide, please. So just to finish off, as I said, this is a very early stage in the project, and we are hoping to launch it all in February next year, so keep tuned. But also I wanted to mention that I'm really excited that we're being joined by some of the people that are involved in these projects who will be available to chat with you in the breakout session that's going to be following shortly. And Sebastian from RMIT University, who's helped the Australian Association of Social Workers develop a voluntary local review, which is the first of its kind I've seen. Belinda Gibbons from the University of Wollongong, who has been engaging both within a university, the Prime Network, and with some really interesting community groups around the SDGs for a long time. And Renzo Mora Jr., also from RMIT University, who's leading the project within RMIT to change the university with the SDGs. And finally, the chair of SDSN, Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific, John Thwaites, who's been a champion for the SDGs for many years. So thank you for your attention, and we hope to connect with you in the breakout groups or after this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tal. This is just such a fascinating solution, with the network really being the network of networks, and I think this analysis of how different solutions come to life and what are some of the challenges that they face. And again, those solutions that are doing beyond the business as usual is fascinating. So we'll definitely want to hear more during the breakout session.